Always takes like 3 or 4 seconds.
I know, right? You gotta like maybe we should have like chit chat beforehand.
Yeah, I think we're live now. So there you go. There's the chit chat. How's it going, everybody? This is the Osmo.com NHL, not Hit the Ice show, the strategy show. I mean, it is still the Hit the Ice show, but different title that you're seeing up here this season. But hopefully everybody had a good Monday night. Maybe you grinded some Showdown, played some NBA, NHL. Almost was good for me. Got knocked out there at the end of the top 5 or so entries, but that's going to happen a bunch of times this season. How did things go for you, Nolan?
Wasn't really in contention. You know, I had a couple like Buffalo, what was that? Connor Sheary lines, had a couple took solos, but just didn't come together.
Yeah, actually, it was a stat correction for me too. I rated our superstar 301. He said he went to bed and you got those goalie points for the shutout and win. I had Jake Allen in my best lineup, knocked him to fourth, it looks like, and then he got up and he was second, he says. So I think Patrick Kane had he had a couple shots not accounted for at the end of the
Oh,
game, and that knocked him over the bonus too for the 5 shots.
right.
So nice. Congrats to you. Really awesome. Was a really weird slate. I felt like I shouldn't have had one even close to the top based on what my exposures were. So, I felt pretty lucky to just be in contention there and ultimately got knocked out, which I think was probably right based on, I think I only cashed like 12 or 13 lineups out of my 100. So we'll take a look at lineup study. Hopefully you guys all took advantage of the Cyber Monday code. That was a pretty big hit. So we'll see what we can do in the future. But yeah, kind of our best deal I think we've ever had. And it looks like a bunch of you took advantage. If you're not a member, you can use promo code Hit the Ice or promo code NHL Strategy for 50% off your first month of any Osmo Plus monthly package. If you got any more questions, feel free to reach out to myself on Twitter. I think your DMs are open too, Nolan. I don't know, but
Yeah.
reach out to one of us, whether it's me, Josh, Nolan, someone at the site. Message the Osmo_com Twitter account. We can help you out. Go to the Osmo join page. Kind of walks you through some prompts to help you get the best package. We're not really going to try to sell you anything that you don't want or aren't going to use. So there's kind of packages for all kinds of different DFS players. All right, man. Not going to forget this one again. We are sponsored by Yahoo Daily Fantasy Sports. We love playing over on Yahoo because of, a number of different things. Weaker competition plus the lower management fees. I've been playing this $12 tournament quite a bit.
Yeah, you won it the other night.
I did, yeah. I won it the other night, and I think I zeroed out last night. But I'm having fun playing some lineups over on Yahoo.
Yeah,
Usually
it's
just
great.
putting the three max in there and kind of picking a few of my favorite stacks, not paying too much attention to ownership. Although I think there's, you can get a good guide on ownership in NHL just by looking at the DraftKings ownership. It's going to be pretty similar. There are some outlier prices over on Yahoo, especially with goalies. Just make sure you are playing the correct goalies. Sometimes Yahoo doesn't mark them correctly as far as who's actually starting. But looking forward to keep playing some Yahoo NHL. They've got NBA contests. Nolan is our resident NBA Yahoo expert after his near bink the other night. Have you played any more over there
Oh
since
man,
then?
I played last night and I just forgot that I played and because I was trying to crunch at the end and I left a bunch of dead lineups in there.
Oh
So.
man, well it's all
It was
right.
close, man. If the Lakers hadn't blown out the Wizards or whatever the hell they're called these days, Washington Bullets, is that right?
Yeah, I think so.
And
Something like that.
Anthony Davis might have gotten a little more run, but it was fun, man. NBA is fun. It's I kind of like it as a DFS sport, Like it's tough to do both because you got to pay attention to so much, but
Right.
definitely like play on Yahoo and and the management fees are so much better. So why not? It's fun.
Yeah, Aaron Rasmus in chat says, "Hey guys, smashed it finally last night with hand built 167.2 in his only lineup.
Nice.
That's a pretty impressive score based on how last night went. It was a pretty low scoring night, and we've got a familiar name taking down a number of tournaments last night. Getting sick of talking about this guy, but
Kreider?
B. Kreider, like he's just
Killing it.
been unconscious."
Yeah.
Over on DraftKings, and I know he's had some success over on FanDuel as well.
Mhm.
Put the max in last night, and nothing weird there. I just found out I was looking at some NBA lineup study, and he was playing. He plays big stakes in NBA, so he must just play everything. And he had some success last night, as did Alex. I saw in the NBA streets. Nothing.
What's his lineup construction? Because every time I look at his lineups, I'm like, where'd you get that one, buddy?
So it was a shorter slate last night. 3-2-1 is what he did. At least in his top lineup, I scrolled through a few of his lineups and saw most of them are 3-2-1s. So this one was unconventional because it was 3 from Buffalo. It was all 3 Buffalo 2 guys, or I think they were considered line 3, but Larson, Skinner, Sheary. His one-off was Eichel. So he had 4 forwards from the same team. No defenseman, but he did have Eberle and he had Eichel and Reinhart as well. So it's 3-2. Both of those were from the Buffalo side. And then he had an Eberle one-off with Pulock. So I guess kind of a 2-man correlated Islander stack winger defenseman. And then Pietrangelo and Jake Allen as to finish that off. Allen with the huge performance, outscored Linus Ullmark. And so the 3-2-1, but 5 skaters, 5 forwards from one team. He was able to take it down. It looks like a bunch of his top lineups actually had a similar construction with the Larson line plus Eichel. So makes sense. I mean, Buffalo was really chalk last night, especially their top line. But if you used their second line with them, like that was a way to automatically get different from the field. So
yeah,
I don't know.
That was your best lineup too, right?
Yeah, my best was. Let's see, what did I have here? And I'm so far up there, and you see the loss column. I lost like over half my entries, or close to half my entry fees. Mine was a 6-man Buffalo stack, so just the Josh stack, uncorrelated goalie. I had Allen, Theodore, and Ryan Pulock. So needed a little bit more from Theodore, and then I think Pulock got an assist taken away. That must have been also what bumped me down. I'm not exactly sure what happened there, but once I went to sleep, I saw that I had been bumped out of the top 3 spots there, down to 7th. It's gonna happen, but also just for good measure, B. Kreider also took down the 222 as well for a nice 10K payday there. Profited about $9,600. So there you go. That was a magnificent stat change. Josh says, got to get this win in our premium Slack. He says, so that must have helped him out. I thought he was on Pulock, though. But anyways, maybe I'm thinking of someone else. So, good slate. If you were a more contrarian type player with your Buffalo stacks, I mean, Buffalo 1 did decent. Once again, though, one of the Buffalo 1 wingers was completely left out of the party. It was either Reinhart or Olofsson, had 1.5 points. So pretty brutal to stack Buffalo 1 this season.
Yeah, super weird. Like I'm buying into this theory that you just go solo with Eichel or do 2 of those guys. I don't know why, but it seems to be a pretty strong trend at this point, right?
Yeah, I mean, it seems like it happens every single time Buffalo 1 is popular. It's Eichel doing all the work, and then no one else gets in on it. But let's go to tonight's slate. We got 10 games. We'll go through it quickly. Carolina and Boston, we've got a 3.3 implied total for... Actually, I think these are flipped. So I'll go fix these after the show, but I think it's 2.8 for the Hurricanes, 3.3 for the Bruins. I'll make that change a little bit later. Peter Mrazek expected to go against Yaroslav Halak. Do we see any line changes here?
So it looks like the Bruins have switched. Sorry, I just got to pull up my thing. I'm always off guard here. I'm always busy doing something else here. So the Bruins have switched their 3rd and 4th line wingers. I think Backus is up on the 3rd line, and Wagner. Let me just check here. Wagner's down on the 4th line. Bergeron is going to be out again. No skate for Carolina Hurricanes this morning. You're going to be hearing me say that a lot today. For some reason, no one skated today, and I don't really know why. It's very strange. Like I think we have about half the teams in the slate just didn't skate. So.
Yeah, that's going to make it tough. We've got a bunch of 7 Eastern starts, though, so you should know a good chunk of this information that you need to know at around 6:30 Eastern.
Yeah, I'd say like more so than normal. It's gonna be important to be around your lineups at lock for sure.
Yeah, I mean, we've seen that recently. Like, it seems like every day we've had something where a line just completely comes out of nowhere. As far as this game, the things that it looks like I'm going to be overweight on are Boston one. We've got a pretty low ownership projection for them. Without giving too much away, like they're not even at the top of the page. You kind of have to scroll down to get to Boston one, and that's just because they're so expensive. Krejci's prices come up. Pasternak's price has not come down. Marchand's has come down a little bit, but overall, you're getting, it's Boston one, super expensive without Bergeron. So not a lot of people. It's not going to appeal to that many people. I don't think. I think they're going to go up against Aho, Svechnikov, Teravainen for a lot of the game, and I don't think that's actually a bad matchup for either side. So I think you can go right back at Boston one with Carolina one. Maybe not in the same lineup because they're too expensive to stack together. But those are kind of the two lines I'm looking at here. I think it's going to be pretty high event both ways without Bergeron on Boston one. And then Aho, Svechnikov, Teravainen has been really exciting at 5-on-5 offensively and also giving it up a lot defensively. And we're getting into a pretty decent sample of those three guys playing together. So those are the two lines I'm keying in on. I think I'm probably going to have a little bit more Boston one, though, once I fix these totals here. Anything you're seeing? You like anything I said there?
Yeah, I kind of agree with you. Like the Krejci's, we have projected for like 1% ownership. That'll probably be around. I'm guessing higher. That'll probably be around 3 or something. But like that's not a bad spot. I don't know. Like we're going to see so much ownership concentrate on Vancouver tonight. Like most people are. There's like we have about 20% for Pettersson. So that line, and then Horvat as well is not going unowned. So I think there's going to be a lot of value elsewhere on some of these lines that you can't fit in with Vancouver one. So I like that. I think probably the smart move is to pivot off Vancouver one tonight, but I love them. So I don't know. Maybe we'll get there eventually. But yeah, that 1% for Boston one, like why not, right?
Yeah, I mean, I think I agree. I think Krejci's going to be a little bit higher, but like you get the idea of the stack. I don't think that they're going to be like one of the more popular stacks. They always get some ownership, Pastrnak and Marchand. And with the full correlation, maybe Krejci gets a little bit more ownership than what you would if he was listed on the second power play. They are a great stack, as always. Offensively, they don't take that much of a hit without Bergeron. And so, I don't know. Like I mentioned, I like the matchup. I will be playing a decent amount of Boston 1 and probably not playing many defensemen in this game. I don't love Hamilton at 7K. There's just other guys I like better in that range. Plus, it's just kind of a tough matchup against Boston. They're even if he's not seeing the toughest matchups here, Boston's just kind of a brutal team to go up against unless you're a great line like the Aho, Svechnikov, Teravainen line.
Boston as well, like just to counter that point, I feel like there's going to be some regression here. There seem to be their shooting percentage really high, their PDO is really high, so I don't know, you might want to start targeting the Bruins just a little bit. Like they're 19-3-5 right now, and that's not sustainable.
That's nuts. Whoa. Okay. John Hines is getting fired for the Devils.
Oh, yeah, I saw that. What?
Apparently.
I saw something on Twitter.
Yeah, apparently. All right. Well, let's go on to the next game. Unless you got anything else you want to mention here. Do you like any defensemen? Are we missing anything?
No, I didn't get to a lot here. Like on the crunch, I got a little bit of Dougie Hamilton, I guess. It seems like we're liking Yossi a little bit more, and Sebastian Aho as well. I think is a pretty decent contrarian play tonight. So,
yep,
I got no problem with it.
All right, let's go to the Islanders and the Canadiens. 2.8 implied total for the Isles. 3.1 for the Canadiens. Thomas Greiss expected to go against Carey Price. Not really seeing much difference here. Islanders did play last night. Wouldn't really expect them to be changing too much up. Anything on the Montreal side?
No morning skate for Montreal this morning either. So
perfect. I think for matchups here, we're probably going to see Danault, Tatar, Gallagher go up against Barzal, Lee, and Bailey. Sorry, not Eberle. I love Danault, Tatar, and Gallagher. I kind of hate that they're priced this low because I think that's going to get people on them. And then same thing for the second line, like Domi, Cousins, and Suzuki. They're also really cheap for a team with a 3+ implied total here in Montreal. I want a quick look at Domi's ownership compared to like Danault. Danault's probably going to be the guy that gets left off some. They're both pretty low owned.
Man, they're so low.
Yeah. I'm kind of surprised that we're not seeing higher ownership on guys like Gallagher, Tatar, and Domi. But I like both of these lines. Like I've been trying to attack the Islanders' top 6 just because neither line has very good numbers, defensively, that is. And I think, like I said, you're going to see Danault against Barzal, Lee, and Bailey. That's a pretty good matchup. That's actually a really good matchup, especially for a Montreal 1 line that's been crazy good at 5-on-5. And then the Domi line's not tough defensively, but they are good offensively. And so I kind of like going to Islanders 2 a little bit if you're getting weird, and then Montreal 2, just kind of the obvious value. I even think there's quite a bit of merit in playing Montreal 3 here if you are going to a very expensive line. If you're going up to Boston 1 and trying to power play stack like the Capitals or something like that, I do like some Montreal 3 here. Joel Armia is a guy I'm really keying on at 4,700. Seems kind of expensive, but he's grading out really well when I look at some of the like high danger stuff and chances.
Didn't he have like 5 chances in the first 3 minutes? Five shots in the first 3 minutes the other day.
Yeah, he's playing really. I mean, for DFS, he's playing really well. So yeah, man, I'm pretty heavy on the Islanders. The Canadiens. I really like all 3 of their lines, especially where we have them right now in the ownership projections. And then the line for the Islanders I'm looking at is the Nelson, Beauvillier, and Brassard line. Do you know if the power plays are correct here for the Islanders? Like what we're seeing on some of the lineup sites?
No,
I can check quick.
So, I mean, we can look at what they did recently.
Yeah. So they played last night. I'm guessing they just go back to whatever it was. But man, this seems like a really good spot for Montreal. I'm not sure what I'm missing here. Like I thought their total would be a little bit higher, to be honest. But I like that it's low, I guess, and it's keeping their ownership down quite a bit.
So it looks like a pull lock, and I got most of it. We got Nelson, Brassard, Barzal, and Beauvillier.
Nice. Okay, so they were on pull lock unit. Okay, so that is correct then what we're seeing on the screen. That's really good. I like that a lot, actually.
Yeah. And that Barzal line got a ton of run last game, I think, together. I think they had a 30% ice time share together at 5-on-5, which is pretty good. So I'm going to fly under the radar tonight. So I think like that's a pretty good ownership value stack at a decent price. Why not?
Montreal has been really bad. The chat is telling me 8-game losing streak will do that. Are they really on an 8-game losing streak? That seems bad. Seems like a pretty good chance to get a win, though. I don't think they should ever lose 8 in a row. They've got a decent roster and a good goalie and all that. So yeah, give me some Montreal. This is the line that this is the time that they break out, I think. Go Canadiens.
I like it. It's optimism.
Yeah. Corsi says Islanders 2 will face Domi line. Yeah. Is that what I said? I think that's what I said, right? Anyways.
Yeah. So the Domi line has some really good expected goals for numbers, hey?
Do they?
Both of them do, really. Yeah. Gallagher. And wait, I thought I had the Domi line up. Maybe not. No, I'm thinking of the Gallagher line. It's just the usual story.
Yeah, Gallagher line's nuts.
And being super good. Yeah.
And Montreal 3 actually has really good numbers as well. So, wait, did they actually? Okay, so they actually fired him. They actually fired the Devils coach.
Wow.
Like a couple hours before the game starts. Seems bad.
Weird. Yeah.
Yeah. I guess, Bill, if you're done with him, might as well be done with him. Shoutout is playing a ton of minutes, I noticed, at 3,800. So maybe a guy you could punt with and just, hope he gets you some blocks and stuff like that.
Yeah. But why play Shoutout when you can just play Cody Ceci for $1,000 less?
Or you could play Petrie for $600 more, and he correlates to Tatar and Gallagher. So that's my preferred play. I also like Weber a little bit for 6,200 if you're going to that Domi line. Going right back to Pulock.
Are you?
Let's see. I didn't notice him coming up a ton. Let's see what I got of him, if anything. I got to 0 of him, and he's not really owned. But
yeah, it seems like our projections really like big, kind of like Yossi, Weber, Hamilton, and then just pairing them up with some cheaper guys. Also, a lot of value on the Canucks side of things. I think with Edler out, Jordy Ben just was like a rock star last game. I think he had 7 shots. Quinn Hughes is good value. I think he's going to get a lot of ice time, and Chris Tanev as well.
Yeah.
So I'm kind of going like pay up for one, pay down for one kind of tonight.
I think that's pretty smart, actually. Let's go to the Wild and the Florida Panthers. 2.9 implied total for the Wild, 3.2 for the Panthers. Kaapo Kähkönen and Chris Driedger in their respective nets. Any changes we see here?
I don't think so.
I don't think so either. I'm looking, and the second line, Trocheck with Connolly and Mulligan, that's been a line for a couple games, I think. If not, it's a line we've seen before.
Yeah.
So I'm not sure.
Like, small sample size, but they've been good so far. So
yeah, I'm. I thought I was going to be pretty heavy on Florida 1. It looks like I'm a little bit overweight on what we have the field coming on DraftKings. I'm probably going to get into like the 12 to 15% range on them. So, they're listed at around 8 to 10% ownership. Pretty comfortable with that. Going up against Stahlzucker and Zuccarello, I would think, maybe they go up against Koivu, Parise, Fiala for extended time. I think they can handle either line pretty easily. I'm not crazy about anything on Minnesota's side. Maybe the third line if you wanted to just get really punty. But the problem with them always is that they don't play on the power play. None of them do, Cunnin, Eriksson Ek, or Greenway. So that's the issue with them. But, if we had Boston 1 with Bergeron for like $25K, maybe that's a line you go to. I'm not even sure it's super necessary to get to them all that often tonight. It's really just going to be about Florida 1 for me in this game. Really nothing I see on Minnesota's side that's worrying me from a matchup standpoint. Like anything here?
No, I don't really like much. I mean, I think like as a filler stack, Minnesota, we've hit on them as a pretty solid defensive team. I think so far this season, they are number 1 in the entire NHL as a unit in scoring chances against. They are top 3 in high danger chances against. Oh no, sorry, they're number 1. So I'm not loving the Florida side of things here. And then I think like going to some of the Minnesota side isn't a bad thing. They're not going to have much ownership, I'm guessing, and they're pretty cheap. And Florida is not all that great defensively. So I like the Minnesota side more than the Florida one, but I don't know. I'm not getting to much either way. What about yourself?
Yeah, I mean, just Florida 1 here.
Yeah.
The second and third lines would just be secondary plays. I wish they would load up the second line and go Vetrano with Trocheck and Hoffman. That would be a clear secondary target for me. But right now, with the lines being the way that they are, with Boyle centering the third line, it's going to make any line that's listed as the third line, whether it's on Fantasy Crunch or whatever, optimizer you guys use. It's just going to get lower ownership. Like nobody plays these third lines on the bigger slates. And so I'm usually looking to take advantage of a couple. I like Montreal 3 though, better than this line. And there's a finite number of third lines I'm going to play here. I mentioned I might have a couple shares of Minnesota 3 as well, just because they get decent ice time. They've got okay numbers, but not really anything I'm wild about on the Minnesota side. They've always got a few defensemen that are in play when they're priced correctly. You've got Dumba, Spurgeon, and Suter. Good luck trying to figure out which one is going to have a big game if the Wild score a few goals here. But since I'm not playing a lot of the forwards here, it means I'm probably not playing a lot of the defensemen and trying to correlate. So it's going to be some Keith Yandel, and I'm probably going to do my normal Keith Yandel thing where I just make a group and say if I play Yandel, I have to play Florida 1. And that's really it. So
yeah, I like that.
All right, man. Anything else here?
No, just that. Also, Minnesota 3 ice time's been down a little bit from where it was previously, and the Minnesota 1 line got a ton of ice time last game out.
Stahlzucker and Zuccarello.
Together as a lineup, their ice time as individuals isn't that great, right? But just like correlation points, I guess you'd say.
Yeah. Someone was asking for Hoffman. We do have ownership projections on the site for DraftKings right now. We're working on FanDuel and trying to get some of those up there. They're in beta, but the data is getting better and better as we get more of it. Alex and Tom and Eddie are working hard behind the scenes. Anyways, Mike Hoffman we've got at 5%, so kind of high for what you're going to see from a third liner, but he's a guy that shoots a ton.
Good one off. Yeah. Good one off.
5,400. I mean, perfectly fine playing him here. Let's go to Vegas and New Jersey. We've got a 3.5 implied total for the Golden Knights, 2.9 for the Devils. I think it's going to be Garrett Sparks going up against Mackenzie Blackwood. Both of these teams played last night. The Devils just fired their coach. Who knows what they're going to do with lines. They did stick with Hall actually on the Zacha-Bratt line last night for the most part, which I was surprised to see when I was looking at Natural Stat Trick today. And they did stick with these lines. I have no clue if they're going to stick with them tonight.
I wouldn't be surprised if they went Hischier, Hall, Palmieri.
You wouldn't be?
No, I wouldn't be surprised if they just switched everything up.
Oh, yeah, I wouldn't be either. Yeah, I mean, just play your best players a lot. It seems pretty basic, but yeah, they suck, and Vegas does not, even though I don't think their record's great right now. They've got just 2 elite lines. They've got a third line that can score goals as well, with Tuck on the third line, scored a couple goals last night. And, it's really hard for me not to favor the Vegas side here. If we do see Hall with Hischier and Palmieri, I suppose you could take some shots on them with both teams on a back-to-back, Vegas on the road back-to-back, and possibly Sparks in net. But yeah, I like Vegas 1 and 2. We have them so closely projected. It's hard, and they're so close in price that it's kind of hard to make a choice on these two, especially when we don't know the Devils' lines. We don't know necessarily what the matchups are going to be. And these 2 lines are both matchup proof, I think. Do you have a favorite Vegas line here, though?
No.
Yeah, I don't either. I think they're $300 apart. So let's see.
It's so hard. I have so much trouble predicting which of these Vegas lines is going to go off.
Oh, it's brutal.
I don't have a feel.
So I will say right now I have more Vegas 1, the Carlson line, but that could easily be flip-flopped by lock. If I'm on Vegas and being an MME player, I'm almost always on both lines when it's Carlson, Marchessault, Smith, Stastny, Pacioretty, and Stone, because I can't really choose the lines. They don't, especially when they're on the road and they don't have the benefit of last change. So yeah, man, I'm playing both. If I had to choose one, it would probably be the Carlson line. Slim Cliffy's been talking about how they're due for some regression. We haven't really seen a blow-up performance out of them lately. Positive regression, that is.
Which line was that?
The Carlson line.
Carlson line.
Yeah. I like Theodore.
Yeah.
Hag.
Sorry, just on that point as well. I haven't looked at it recently, but Marchessault was shooting it just had an abysmal shooting percentage, and so I'm well below his career average a couple weeks ago, and I haven't seen him score a lot since. So I'm assuming that he's probably he has no goals in his last 8 games, but still shooting the puck a fair amount. So I like that play as well, because his price point is going to be a little bit lower than 6,300 though.
He should be 6,300. He's gonna go on a goal tear. I mean, he's too good and playing on too good of a line.
You'd think that that would bring his price down into the 5s or something, but I guess not.
It was for a few games. I think he was down to 5,800 a couple times last week. But this spot
continues to be expensive.
Yeah, really Carlson and Smith have been doing a lot of the damage. Smith scored a bunch of goals in bunches. Yeah. But yeah, it's the full stack or nothing for me for both of these 2 Vegas lines. You could go back to Tuck. I mean, he's good and he's 3,800. Yeah, he's not going to play on a top 6, but you can see he's just really talented, and the Vegas third line is pretty good as far as third lines go. Devils, it's just going to have to wait until 6:30 Eastern time, and we'll see if there's a line I like, but more than likely probably just going to go elsewhere.
All right.
One quick note, actually. Schmidt was on the power play last night, so we thought it was going to be Hag. Schmidt, I think, was actually on the power play. And then Theodore's always been on the power play. He's 4,500. He is another top defenseman play, one-off as a correlation play, you can do whatever you want. I like Theodore once again, but that's no shock to anyone. Maple Leafs and Flyers. We got a 3.3 implied total for the Leafs, 3.2 for the Flyers. Freddie Anderson and Carter Hart in net. Any changes here?
Didn't see any.
I don't either, and I usually just took a look at the top 6, but yeah, I mean, I think we're probably looking at the top 6 anyways. Van Riemsdyk's still on the 4th line.
God,
like I forgot he was a thing even. Yeah, man, they're just burying him on the 4th line. I don't know what that's really about, or if he's just in the doghouse or what. But like, just put him on the Hayes line at least. Let it man.
Mm-hmm.
But
I'm curious about this one, man. I want to hear your thoughts because the Giroux line's been really bad defensively so far. And are we assuming that they're going to get the Tavares line? Is it going to be like a Couturier versus Matthews and Tavares versus Giroux?
Yep, you nailed it. So these two teams played in Philadelphia on, I believe, November 9th, early November, about a month ago, 4 weeks ago, whatever it was. And Couturier hard matched Matthews, Janssen, and Nylander. So I would expect the same thing. I think the Flyers lost, but it was an OT game. And the Flyers, the Couturier line actually did a really good job against Matthews, Janssen, and Nylander. I think they limited them to like 2 high danger chances, which is, I mean, that's a pretty solid game. I think 3 scoring chances. So, and I don't know if they got a goal at 5-on-5 against that line. So I would expect the same type of thing. Hoping the Flyers are sharp enough to do that. Couturier line is incredible at 5-on-5. I mean, he's just one of the best shutdown centers in the NHL. So I really don't have much interest at all in the Matthews line. They could get hot on the power play and burn me here, but I just think the 5-on-5 matchup is too tough for the price you're going to pay. And then just looking at this implied total, 3.3 goals, like, people love playing Matthews, and they should. I mean, he's awesome, but over 10% here for Matthews. Nylander not getting as much ownership at 6,200, but I think this is going to be a decently popular stack, and I want no part of the matchup. I actually don't mind playing the Couturier line if you're going to the Flyers, but I like both sides of the Tavares and Philadelphia 1 matchup. I think you're going to see them spend a lot of ice time together. Tavares line numbers, I'm guessing this is why you asked about this. Their line numbers are nuts, 80 plus shot attempts, 4 expected goals, 4 per 60. I know the sample's not huge, but they've played quite a few games together. And so
7 minutes, they're leading the team in ice time as well as a unit. No ownership on either of Tavares' wingers here, Hyman or Mikheyev. So this is probably my favorite filler stack of the night here.
Yeah, I mean, I think if this game does achieve its 6.5 total, I think you're going to see if this game goes off for 6 or 7 goals, I think you're going to see Philadelphia 1 or Toronto 2 scoring a bunch of goals. I don't know.
I guess it isn't really. They're priced up a little bit, and that's probably why the ownership isn't there. Both the wingers, Hyman and Mikheyev, are over 4K on DraftKings, so it's not as great of a bargain as it once was. But I don't know. This line's been playing great. Their Tavares has been great. I don't know. I just like it.
I wish there were more. I wish there were more power play correlation on the second line, but that's going to lower the overall ownership for Mikheyev and Hyman. Even though they're not great, Tavares can carry a line by himself. And then Philly 1 they're kind of overpriced, but that's always a spot that I like. An overpriced line that projects well on a raw point basis. So that's going to be a line I try to force into my crunches. And I think when you look at their ownership, you've got Frost. Actually, we don't have Frost in the ownership projections right now, so maybe we can get this updated. But we've got Giroux really low, and Konechny as well. And I don't think they should with the more favorable matchup, not having to go up against Matthews. What do we got for defensemen? Anything you see?
Yeah, just that. I think did Gostisbehere have a power play goal or something recently? But it was still Provorov up at the top, so are getting most of the power play ice time. So yeah, nothing really crazy here though. Toronto's still rolling out two defensemen on their power play unit. I like what you had to say there. I kind of agree. Not really seeing too much exciting stuff here for defense. I guess they're all kind of priced up from where they were. If you want to pivot, it's probably Jake Muzzin, but
I don't really like many defensemen here. Our boy Sanheim is $3,100. Maybe that's a guy you take a shot on. Provorov and Gosper Niskanen wouldn't be anything but like correlation plays with their respective lines that they go well with. You would want Provorov with Philly 1, Niskanen or Gosper with Philly 2. But yeah. It's just weird that this is a 6.5 total game. And of course, you were saying it in chat. A couple other people were saying it in chat. Like, just screams under 6.5. But I think if it does go over, like Philly 1, you have to think Philly 1 does a lot of the damage here. At least that's how I think. So I like them for GPPs. Arizona, Columbus, 2.7 implied total for the Coyotes, 3 for the Blue Jackets, Darcy Kemper and Jonas Korpisalo in net. Nothing weird there. Do we see any line changes here? I can never keep track of Arizona lines.
Arizona didn't skate this morning. Shock right now.
Classic.
So we'll find out closer to. Actually, we probably won't find out closer to. Right. That's what Arizona does. On the Columbus side of things, yeah, Zach Werenski's still out. I don't know what their lines were to start last game. I think they shuffled them a little bit, but Atkinson's with Wenberg and Foligno, and Emil Bemstrom's out of the lineup. Eric Robinson, Riley Nash, and
Texier?
Texier.
I think that's what it is. We'll have to look that one up.
No, it's Texier. I just can't say.
Okay. But anyways, do you like any lines here? It looks like it looks like we've got some value probably on both sides. I know they're not great totals, but you look at the top line for Columbus. I hate that they're listed as the top line now because they were listed as the third line as recently as the last time they played. But Jenner, Nyquist, Bjorkstrand, they were playing like 17, 18 minutes per game, fully correlated on the power play. But they were listed as the third line, so they weren't getting as much ownership as probably they should have. Now they're listed as the first. They're crazy cheap for a team with a 3 implied total. I think they're going to be owned probably what they should be here. It's a fine spot. I don't know who they're going to go up against is the thing. Columbus doesn't do a lot of hard matching anyway, so maybe it won't matter, but that's the line I'm most interested in for this game, and I don't really have much else, so it sucks because it's the obvious line at home that's really cheap, that's fully correlated, but that's really the only one I'm getting to, and then Seth Jones.
See, I think I'm going to fade again. I've had some, I get what you're saying. I like that line because then you also have full power play 1 correlation, but 2.5 implied total here, rolling 4 lines, tough matchup against Coyotes. Coyotes also have a 2.5 implied total. And then, I don't know, I feel like you can probably get away with fading a marginal top line and a 2.5 implied total at 10% ownership, right?
Yeah. And so I'll go update this total as well because, let's see, it's at 5.5 right now, but it's a lot of juice on the under. So I'll go in and fix these totals along with that Carolina one. It's dropped considerably since the day started. Just obvious value, I guess. And, I'm a victim of this too. It's like you see this value and you see the projections you can get, like projected lineup scores you can get when you pop in Columbus 1, but you're also paying a pretty decent ownership tax on them. And then it's just not that great of a spot. Like, it's okay, but is it really worth stacking up one of the top owned lines of the night just because they're cheap? And you're also going to be similar to a lot of people that play them, right?
Yeah.
Slim Cliffy says Columbus and Torts can get bent. There you have it. I couldn't agree more.
Never been spoken.
Yeah.
I don't know. I've been fading a lot of Columbus this year, or taking lower owned lines instead of the chalk, and I think it's been working out. It's been working out so far. They always seem to be a good value, and they never seem to produce. But knock on wood, man. Maybe this is the night.
It might be. We've got
one of our best values, I think, on the slate too, right?
Yeah, he's a good value, 5,200. He's just not a $5,200 player. He's been pretty quiet this year, but I looked at the numbers for the Soderberg line, and I think the Stepan line also has pretty poor numbers so far together at 5-on-5. So not a bad matchup. Atkinson 5,200, you can almost always get there. Seth Jones, probably one of the top defensemen on the night, just as a standalone guy. No Werenski and he gets bumped up to the top power play. His price hasn't really caught up to him. So 5,200, good spot. Murray and Savard are guys I kind of like as punts as well that I'll probably include.
Yeah, I like that call a lot, actually. Seth Jones is insanely cheap here. 27 minutes last game against the Islanders. He's gonna see more ice time with Werenski out. So sign me up for that as one off. I think that's a good way to get access to this game if you're really dying to.
Agreed. Let's go to Tampa and Nashville. We've got a 3.1 implied total for the Lightning, 3.4 for the Preds. Andrei Vasilevsky and Pekka Rinne in net. Any changes?
Yeah, so Kyle Turris comes back into the lineup after being a healthy scratch for a while. He's centering Yarncroc and Granlund. Duchesne moves up over to the wing with Johansson and Forsberg, and then I think everything else is the same. On the Tampa side of things, just watch because Killorn, I think, is a game-time decision tonight. They switched up their lines a little bit too. Chiarelli, Stamkos, Killorn, Johnson, Joseph, and Verhaeghe. So also this fourth line led the team in ice time, I think, as a unit last game, or was I think they had like a 25% share. So that fourth line's kind of in play and not really a fourth line right now, I'd say, for Tampa.
Yeah, they're listed as the fourth line, but they're getting run like a third line. And so I've been playing them a bunch, especially when they're on home ice. Actually, the third line for the Preds has really good numbers as well.
Popping in crunches all over the place. Nick Bonino's price is still a little bit much, but the Grimaldi and Smith bargains, I think, just make that line one of the better values on the slate. So
that's kind of a third line I'm going to a couple times tonight. Really limit my third line exposure. I don't go crazy with any of them, but that's one that I like.
And like Bonino just pops in Hatties whenever, like once every 8 weeks, he pops one in, right? So
yeah, feels like it. But Johansson, Forsberg, and Duchesne, I was surprised to see how much ownership we have on them, because I don't like. It's not like that great of a spot, I don't think, from a line matching standpoint. Like they're probably going to see a lot of Point, Kucherov, Palat. Not like you have to avoid that line, but they're cheap with Johansson being only 4,100. I like Forsberg a ton at 66. Yeah. I was surprised to see how popular the stack was. But 3.4 implied total, like they're going to get a good share of the projected goals in a lot of people's models, and that makes sense. So this is actually going to be a line. I think I'm going to be under on Nashville as a whole, or at the very best, probably at the field. Like they're not going to decide my night. I don't think. It's an okay spot. It's a good total. But Vasilevsky in net scares you a little bit, and it's just like playing chalk Preds has been so non-profitable this season. Like they've just been so bad for whatever reason. But
they're like the record's good too. It's just like fantasy-wise, they just don't do anything. So ownership's a lot higher than I thought it would be.
I was surprised this was a 6.5 total game. I can't find much I like on the Tampa side either, outside of just the narrative that Nashville's been bad at home a couple times. Like they've had these like big blow-ups at home where they just get crushed, but not really targeting Point, Kucherov, and Palat, which scares me, as it always does. I'd rather go to like a couple of upcoming games that we're going to talk about. Like I think I'd rather go to the Capitals than the Lightning tonight if I just had to choose one. And that might be a hot take for some people, but neither of them are coming up much in the ownership projection. So if you like the spot, you're going to get decently low-owned Tampa 1 here, I guess. Do you like Tampa 1 at all? I mean, are you getting to them in your crunches?
I wasn't getting to them, but that ownership's pretty good. So I think I'll probably force a couple in. And like Nashville's had some blow-up games too, right? So I got no problem going to them. I think, anytime you can get them at lower ownership than they should be at, why not, right? Yeah. But I think I would probably prefer, if you're doing 3-2-1s, like just maybe Kucherov one-offs.
Yeah, that's always Kucherov one-off at 7,500. That's fine. Speaking of one-offs, I like Yossi once again, 6,700. He's actually probably the reason I'm getting to still a decent amount of Nashville 1, even though their ownership is up there as one of the most popular stacks, just because he grades out so well. He goes with them on the power play. I mean, perfect correlation with Nashville 1. He's the very clear add-on. There's not a ton of lines with full power play correlation, and a great defenseman to go with tonight. And so he's forcing them up a little bit for me. I'm probably going to end up with around like 50% Yossi, maybe even higher. We don't have him being like overwhelmingly the top defenseman or anything tonight as far as ownership. So even more appealing. I'll pay 6,700 for him, and I think you can pay 53 for Ellis as well.
Oh, interesting.
You don't like him?
No, I never get to Ryan Ellis. I don't know.
I mean, he's shooting at a pretty decent rate so far this season. He's actually getting some ownership. He's getting
his last 3 games are just crazy. Like 6 block shots last game, 5 shots before that, 8 shots previously. Like he's like the last year in our projections, he just rates out really well. Like not maybe so much at the beginning of the season this year, but he was always one of the best values in the slate, and he never came through. So I probably just have a personal bias against him, but it seems like a really good play that'll go under owned tonight.
Yeah, and
definitely with you on Yossi there. 6,700, 27 minutes. I don't know, hasn't done much recently, so probably gonna get a lower ownership than we should. I'm guessing he's our highest predicted owned defenseman, though. Or
who's that?
Burns. It's Bobby Boom's boy, Brent Burns.
Yeah, Burns is still getting a ton of ownership. I just like Yossi better straight up. So give me Yossi.
Burns is like not getting those elite minutes that he did last year,
and he's not getting the top power play time either, which really stinks.
In his last games, he has 0 block shots and 1 shot.
So. Maybe he's hurt. Or maybe Boom's fantasies come true and Burns just sucks now.
God, it took long enough for it to happen.
Let's go to Dallas and Winnipeg. We've got a 2.9 implied total for both teams. I think that's actually dropped a little bit. But anyways, Khudobin and Connor Hellebuck in net. Any changes here? Actually, I see one glaring change on the Dallas side.
Oh, what is it?
Dallas won back together.
Oh, they were back together last game.
Oh, were they? I didn't even.
Well, maybe not beforehand, but they played together last game. So, but maybe it was like a Saturday morning game or something like that. Like, when was the last time they played?
I think that might have been it. It was. Yeah, I think it was a Saturday morning game. But
okay, yeah. So Seguin, Ben, Radulov back together. All the lines are pretty much the same from that one. But yeah, man, what are we doing here? I was surprised that this total is so low on the Dallas side.
Probably losing some money on Dallas 1. Hellebuck's been really good. He's been saving them.
Brent Burns, Dallas 1. It's 2018-19 all over again. Let's roll.
Jeez. Yeah, I'm going to play some Dallas 1. Not that that's shocking at all. The ownership is in check, and I think that's because of the total here. But great numbers at 5-on-5. I think great matchup at 5-on-5. If they're going to see a lot of Scheifele, Connor, and Laine, that line's been good offensively, but like Carolina 1, struggled defensively, giving up a ton of chances. And I think that's going to be the matchup. Their price is in check as well. It's just the total, really, that you don't like. And so I really like Dallas 1 once again. They're not a line necessarily.
Klingberg.
What's that?
Said you can stack them up with Klingberg. It's pretty decently priced. So
yeah, exactly. So like organically, you're probably not going to get a ton of them in projections because of the low total and because of Sagan's price at 7,500. And they haven't been fantastic this year from a results standpoint. They've had like a couple big games, but people have kind of gotten off playing them like every slate. Like they're not Boston 1, they're not Florida 1 when they're cheap, or they're not going up against Ottawa. So that's why you're seeing the low ownership. But I think this is a good time to attack them in what is a pretty good 5-on-5 spot.
Yeah, man, I'm in. I'm back on board. Let's go Dallas 1. Let's go.
I mean, Winnipeg is still playing Morrissey with 5 very bad defensemen. Pionk, Pullman, Spezza.
No,
I mean, he's not a good defenseman as far as I know. At least I don't think he is. But yeah, I mean, I don't know. Dallas 1 plus Klingberg. That's where I'm going in this game. As far as the Dallas side, I think you can play the Scheifele line as well. You can probably make a case for the Wheeler line just because they're cheap. Roslovic's price doesn't ever come up, but
they have not been good.
Mm-mm.
Oh, I actually did have a note on that. They switched Scheifele and Lowry around last game. So Scheifele was down on the 3rd line and Lowry was up on the 2nd line. So
wait, Scheifele. Wait, so Lowry was centering Connor and Laine?
Yeah, just let me double check. It was like in-game shuffle, I think. Let me just double check. Make sure I'm not
What was
making
that? Yeah. I mean, that's not shocking. I mean,
Yeah,
I've never.
Shifley, Kopp, and Perot got a 20% share. Line, Lowry, Connor. So keep an eye on that one.
Good God.
I
That's
know, right?
brutal. What?
And like with the numbers the way they are, I think I'd just rather go, and the price points, I'd just rather go Ehlers, Russell, Wheeler. But
Okay.
I'm not getting much Winnipeg tonight, man. I don't play against Dallas. They're too good defensively.
Yeah, classic me on the side of a 5.5, both sides of a 5.5 implied total game. So here we go. I'm sure yeah. What's the definition of insanity? Because that would be what I'm doing, playing Dallas 1 all the time. Is this the last game? Oh, two more fun ones.
Two more. Oh, come on, we got the best game on the slate. The two best games on the slate next.
They might be. Ottawa, Vancouver. We'll start with Anders Nilsson and Thatcher Demko in net. 2.9 implied total for the Sens. 3.6 for the Canucks. Any changes? And then what do you like here?
Yeah, so Edler's looks like Edler's out. He didn't skate this morning. He's day to day. He hasn't been. I don't think he's been officially ruled out. I could be wrong, but I think it's like 99%. Yeah, and Jake Virtanen as well didn't skate this morning. So Louis Eriksson was pulled off the Horvat line. Levo was up there. What am I liking? Oh, and Logan Brown I think is back. So Logan Brown, I get these guys mixed up. Yeah, Logan Brown's back for Ottawa, centering that Kachuk-Duclair line, moving Nemesnikov. Should just pull this up on the screen, I'm still guessing, shouldn't I? Anisimov, Nemesnikov, and Colin White, I think, on the third line. So, yeah, I mean, it's going to be my most owned line of the night, I think. You just got to find some unique combos because they're going to get about 20% ownership across the board. You can do some interesting stuff, add in Horvat, but Vancouver 1 is just, or 2, what are we calling them? I don't know. But the Pettersson line is just, I don't know, in a really good spot here. So,
yeah. So I'll just say Pettersson line. They're listed as Vancouver 2 right now on the screen, but it's really their top line. I mean, great numbers at 5-on-5. Incredibly low price for how good they've been when they have been together. I think the matchup's going to be okay. I mean, it's against Ottawa, and they have a 3.6 implied total. So, you know, even if you thought they're going to see a ton of time against Pajot, that's not really enough for me to get off of them based on how good their numbers are. Just generating a ton of shots, scoring chances, high danger chances, everything I look for. They're fully correlated. There's a cheap defenseman that you can play with them as well, and Hughes, who I just like straight up. And so, yeah, Vancouver, the Pettersson line is going to be my highest exposed line tonight. They're also our most chalky line on the slate. But you said it. I mean, just make sure you're getting somewhat unique with your overall lineup. Now, this is a spot where some people might say, okay, you can't play Vancouver, the Pettersson line, because they're going to be chalk, 20% chalk on the slate. But
there's just a lot of other lines that aren't getting ownership that I like to pair them with. So.
Exactly. I'm finding that I can get some pretty contrarian lineups with them while getting some good projections, and finding one or two defensemen that are, maybe sub 5% ownership, or a line that might be sub 3 or 4% ownership or something like that. There's just so many different ways to pair them. It's cheap chalk that is not only good, but they're also in a great spot. So there's no reason that I'm seeing to avoid. If they were to come in at 35% ownership or something like that, maybe you start to look elsewhere just for the sake of ownership and it being a variance-based sport. But I think they're going to generate a ton of chances. Maybe Anders Nilsson has a huge game here. We've seen it a bunch of times, and he's probably usable in tournaments just because of the volume he's going to see. But yeah, it's going to be a ton of Pettersson, Besser, JT Miller. I love that they put that line back together. You can power play stack it with Horvat somehow. You can full power play stack with Hughes. There's so many different ways to play Vancouver tonight. You can play Levo with Horvat and Pearson together. I think that's also a really good stack as well. Are you in agreement with all of that?
100% across the board. And Jordy Ben, I think, just as a one-off, or, I don't think you need to stack him, but 21 minutes last game in absence, 7 shots on goal and an assist. He's $27. I think I like him even more than Cody Ceci, which is saying a lot.
Whoa.
I love Ceci.
Very careful, man.
Cody Ceci.
Yeah.
And then I think Tanev as well. Tanev's going to be pretty much most of his time is spent in defensive situations. He's tops in the league in like defensive zone starts. So you're not going to see a lot of offense there, but good bet for the shot block bonus. And I don't know, like you never know when he's going to maybe put a shot on net or two.
Who's that?
Kristanev.
Oh, yeah.
I'm not going to pick him tonight. I'm not advocating for that, but
I always get a weird amount of Tyler Myers. He doesn't do anything, man.
Like, he hasn't this year. Like I feel like previously you could one off him and he'd just like randomly score a goal out of nowhere. But yeah, he's just like, I don't know, man.
Yeah, so he might be a guy I just mute my exposure on, but like I always get Tyler Myers when he's 3K. He's projected for like 6 points and like
and like I think all these guys are fine because Edler's out and there's going to be minutes to go around, right? Anyone in that top 4.
Yeah, no, for sure, but you still need someone. Even if you're close to min salary, you still need to do something. You need to get an assist. You need to get the block shot bone. Like he's just had like you look at these game logs, and this is not the way to play DFS, but like he just doesn't do anything. It seems like. Yep. Is there any way to fix the line info on DK for FC? You got to do that yourself. You can just click where the line assignments are, and you can edit stuff yourself if you want to manipulate different things. I do that sometimes, but rarely.
What's Bobby Boom talking about in chat here? Drop 1% hat trick for us, fish in chat.
I don't know. I think he's usually got his 1% hat trick plays. Mine's gonna be Joel Armia. I think I hit a 2-goal Joel Armia game one time. But that would be my 1% hattie. So there you go, boom. We still got one more game.
Is that? A guy who's 1% owned that you think is gonna hattie?
That you think has a chance to hattie.
I like it.
We'll you can think about yours. Maybe we'll get yours after this next game. Actually, real quick, I do like Brown with Kachuk and Duclair. That line back together, great numbers. Really contrarian. If you are going to Anders Nilsson and you want to correlate your goalie, I think Ottawa 1 plus Nilsson is a really high upside stack. Low percentage, but high upside. So
there's so many 1% hattie candidates.
Who's your favorite?
Jakub Vrana.
All right, we'll get to that game right now. Real quick, if you guys could hit the like button, that would be very much appreciated. Before you head out of here, before you listen to this last game, it helps us continue to do this sort of content for free. So we would be very appreciative if we could get up a few more likes. It helps us somehow in the search engine or whatever and brings more traffic to the site, which we need to continue to do this. So thank you guys for watching. As always, Caps, Sharks, 3.2 implied total for both sides. Holtby, Martin Jones. Seems like goals here. What do you got?
Yeah, no changes for the Sharks, and I think the Washington optional skate, I want to say.
I think it was an optional skate. One of the beats did tweet out the lines expected.
Oh, yeah, so it's like they traded Chandler Stevenson. Stephenson. There's one for you. Stevenson. So it's Boyd. It's Hagelin is back, I guess. Hagelin, Boyd, Ponick. Is that right? And then I think everything the same for San Jose. So kind of like the pricing on the Couture Kane line. I'm surprised that's not going, or at least those two and like 3-2-1s. And I mean, I like Washington too at 1% ownership, man. I'm in on that.
Yeah, I like as far as lines that I think I'm going to be overweight on. I think a pretty good chance that I'm over on both Washington lines and probably under on both Sharks lines. Like I don't think there's that big of a gap between these two. And yeah, the pricing is way different for Washington 1 compared to like San Jose 1. San Jose 1's clearly the better value, but their ownership, they're right behind Vancouver, the Pettersson line as like the second chalkiest stack on the slate. And then you've got Meyer, Hurdle, good with Marlowe, bad. Like that's going to be really popular as well. So it looks like we anticipate the late night hammer to get a bunch of steam here. And the Sharks haven't been particularly good at 5-on-5. I do like pieces of this game, and I'll have stacks, but as far as ownership goes, I think I'm going to be under on the Sharks' top 2 lines and definitely over on Washington too. And then I'm going to try to find out a way to see if I can jam in some Kuznetsov, Ovechkin, and Wilson. Going to have to get creative with like some third lines elsewhere. I mentioned Montreal 3 and a couple other ones like that. But they're restrictive to get in, especially with, a good total, not a great total in 3.2 implied goals, but Marty Jones and net, like Ovechkin, it doesn't seem like he's just going to eat him up and score a hat trick here again. It feels like one of those games. I don't know.
Yeah, I'm right there with you. Yeah, I think this is the hammer. I'd also I think Backstrom's, it's like 99% he's going to be out, but I think there's still a chance, or is it official? Because he was in a. I'm going to look it up again.
They said, I think they said that he's not expected to play. I don't know if that's confirmed, but.
Yeah, I think it's like pretty close to confirmed, but he's been officially ruled out. Never mind.
He has been?
This was like thinking that would be a pretty good way to go if you wanted to, because you're going to get him at nothing. But
yeah. But Eller's cheap. I mean, under 5K with Verana and Oshie. That line's been pretty good. And we've seen a lot, like, just inconsistent play from the top 6 of the Sharks. Like, they're good one game, they're really bad the next. I don't really know what to expect from them, but I do know Martin Jones is bad, and I do know the Caps can score. Carlson, 7,500. What are you doing there? I mean, it seems crazy to play John Carlson at 7,500 when you got Burns at 61 and Erik Karlsson at 54. But, like, he's been that much better than these guys.
I'll have 0.
What's that?
I will have 0 at that price.
0?
0. Wow. 0 Carlson.
Wow.
I'm not doing 150 though. You got to remember.
Okay. Yeah. I mean, maybe not in 20 max. I'm still gonna get to a lot of Carlson, and a bunch of that will be like Carlson with whether it's Washington 1 or more likely Washington 2, and try to capture some of that power play upside that you could get. So it's difficult to play him as a one-off, especially when you got Yossi right there. You've got cheap Burns and cheap Carlson, and Seth Jones. But
I do play him, not get any ownership, so I'm sure that you're right and I'm wrong.
Yeah, just big total, and he's just gonna go completely overlooked. Like, are you gonna be surprised if Carlson has the most raw points for defenseman tonight? Because I certainly would not be. I'm talking about John, by the way. Erik Karlsson.
I know. My ears perked up. I was like, "What? 2,000 price increase for Erik Karlsson?" Yeah, I don't know. There's just so many better values out there, and I'd just rather spend I guess it's a have to be contrarian spot, but Yossi, Erik Karlsson, super cheap, like Klingberg, Quinn Hughes. There's a lot of value on this slate at D. Maybe Quinn Hughes isn't on that level, but.
Or you could just play the best plays and play Yossi and John Carlson and Seth Jones and Shea Weber. What's that?
Yeah, Seth Jones is another one. I said, and Boone Jenner.
Boone Jenner, yeah. Josh Anderson, people were mentioning in chat. I mean, he's like $2,800. So
yeah, he's actually Josh Anderson and Atkinson. I think we're at the top of our value rankings for forwards today. So
yeah,
spot on.
You mainly run even strength stacks? Yes, yeah. I mainly do.
God.
Do you as well, Nolan? I think you do, right? I think something's going on with Nolan's microphone.
Wi-Fi is terrible.
Do you usually run even strength stacks?
New setup. Huh?
Even strength stacks for you, right?
For this game?
Just for tonight, your approach on a 10-game slate.
I'm doing some 3-2-1s and 3-3s.
I will probably be doing pretty much exclusively 3-3s for what it's worth. Not saying that's the right way to play. We've seen B. Kreider absolutely smash with 3-2-1s. We've seen a number of different pros go away from the classic 3-3. We've seen Slewfoot have a ton of success over the years with a lot of power play stacking. I'm sure he'll stack up the Canucks tonight and win everything.
One thing I noticed as well is that at the lower dollar contest you go to, the less likely you are to find line stacks. And I looked at some of my line stacks compared to, I did the 20 max $1 and the 20 max $4, and there's usually a 50% discrepancy between a good player and bad wingers. So Tavares, for example, and Hyman and Mikheyev at the high dollars, they'll be much closer on ownership. At the low dollar, less so. So you're probably better off stacking in the smaller tournaments or the smaller dollar tournaments full stack.
And on bigger slates, the bigger the slate, the less perfect you have to be to have a winning lineup. So the more important correlation becomes. You can read about that more, I think, in the diversification primer. I think Alex has just go to the Learn DFS tab on the Osmo.com homepage. Like, just really invaluable articles we have up there written by Alex. Let's see. I think I also have an article using MLB DFS strategy to play NHL DFS that I came out with about a month ago that might be interesting to some of you. If you're looking to dabble into the NHL streets, there's some things that are similar. There's some things that are not. But I kind of show that, what some of the similarities are in terms of variance, correlation, and stacking strategies and stuff like that. So if you want to check that out, we've got a ton of stuff on the site for free. Speaking of free, Osmo's NHL DFS rankings are free today. I don't know if I mentioned this off the top of the show, but here you go. There's the link. These are free. Use them. We've got DK value, FanDuel value, team, line, assignment, all that good stuff. I will update these again with the updated totals. Shout out to Yahoo Daily Fantasy Sports. Go play some NHL over there. If you're watching this show, it's weaker competition, lower entry limits, and still some pretty good prizes. So go build up the bankroll. I've built up mine in the recent days, playing some NFL, getting in that guaranteed overlay tournament. Even a fish like me can make some money playing NFL DFS, and then NHL has been fun as well. Super easy to make lines.
There, you can make money. That's all I'll say.
Yeah, there you go. What else do we got, man? I think that's about it. Go check out the free stuff. And it's Vancouver 2 night, apparently. So good luck tonight, guys. And we will see you tomorrow.